Hello, my thoughtful teenagers, and welcome to another episode of Grade 10 Maths with me, Miss Lambert. We're still on the topic of algebra and also indices. So we're going to continue by looking at the additional laws of indices. Now, as a refresher, let's take a quick look at the definition and the representation of indices. Here we're going to see that it says the law of indices enables expression involving powers to be manipulated more efficiently than writing them out in full. Using indices, an index or power is the small floating number that appears at the top of a letter. Now here you can see our index or power, and you can also see our base. We were looking at indices in our last lesson, and we looked at the multiplication and division law of index. Now we are going to be looking at the power to power and the zero law of index. Let's take a look and see what that is really about. The power to power, which is also known as the third law of indices, states that when the power of an index is raised to another power, we find the product of their indices. And you can see here we have x raised to the third power, and all of that is then raised to the fourth power. Now it says that we find the product, and the product means to multiply. So in the next step you can see that we had x3 multiplied by 4, and when we multiply x raised to the 3 multiplied by 4, we're going to have x raised to the 12th power. And that is how we perform the power to power law of index. Continuing, we are looking at the zero law of index. And my thoughtful teenagers, I want you to understand one thing. The first, second, and third law are the most important, since all other laws of indices are built on these laws. Now let's take a look at the fourth law. It says if any symbol or quantity is raised to the power of 0, the answer is 1. Now here I'm going to show you why the answer is 1. Now remember I said earlier that all other laws of indices are based on the first three. Here we have x to the second power divided by x to the second power. Now the division law, or the second law of indices, say that once our bases are the same, we subtract the index. So here we have x raised to the 2 minus 2 power, which will give us x raised to the 0 power. And we said that any symbol or number raised to the 0 power is 1. And since we would have looked at those two laws of indices, let's recap what was done for this lesson. The law of indices enables us to express powers or manipulate them more efficiently. It allows us to write index in a simpler form. Now, when the power of an index is raised to another power, we find the product of the power, which simplifies or express our third law of indices. Additionally, the fourth law states that any symbol or quantity raised to the power of 0 is always 1. So my thoughtful teenagers, there you have it, our lesson on the third and the fourth law of indices. Please ensure you practice, practice, practice. Thank you for being here with me, and I do hope you do your homework, and please join me next time for another episode of Grade 10 Maths. Bye bye.